Do you suffer from painful, heavy periods, PMS, mood swings, or migraines? Are you tired of being told they are just normal parts of life? Or are you afraid your child's going to suffer these symptoms too? At Vividis, the full of life company, we take the pain, misery, and confusion out of those menstrual cycles and replace them with tools of empowerment and time management so you can be Vividis. Visit embracingflowpodcast.com for more information on transforming your cycles from ow to wow. Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.
Ever felt frustrated being told PMS, heavy bleeding, and cramping are just normal parts of life? You are not alone. I loathed my monthly cycle for decades. That all changed when I earned 3 health coaching certifications discovering something incredible. Your period is vital. It is an outward sign of your inner health, and it holds the key to unlocking your full potential. I've been there battling heavy, painful periods, and I turn them into cycles with minimal PMS and cramping. Today, I'm on a mission to share that information with you. Pour a cup of your favorite drink, get comfy, and grab your headphones as we embark on a candid and empowering journey of self-discovery. Together, we'll demystify menstrual cycles, explore cyclical living, delve into natural birth control, and guide parents through those crucial period talks with tweens and teens. It's time to break the taboo around menstruation and embrace the wisdom it holds. I'm your host, Heather Almendinger, and this is the Embracing Flow podcast.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Embracing Flow. I'd like to introduce our guest today, an expert at Embracing Flow, Beth Sandlin. Welcome, Beth, to Embracing Flow. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Beth is a Pilates teacher for people who want effective and fun at-home Pilates workouts. Through her YouTube channel and other programs, she's here to inspire you to take aligned action towards your workout and wellness goals, making every step feel like your favorite obsession. With a focus on nurturing the nervous system, Beth's approach not only enhances physical fitness, but also supports mental and emotional well-being, ensuring that each session leaves you feeling rejuvenated and more connected to your body. I love what you do, Beth. It is so needed. Movement is so needed, and it makes us feel so warm and juicy.
It does. However, for so many of us, that wasn't how we related to moving our body and working out. It's been used as a form of punishment, of just pushing through, has to be long in duration, doing what works really well for someone else. And for a lot of people who I've worked with, it led to confusion, number one, lack of clarity of what is really optimal for them, and always feeling like they're just not doing enough, which can sometimes lead to burnout or overuse. And when we shift to really working in alignment with what are your movement goals, what is your energy level, which we know fluctuates based upon so many factors, menstrual cycle being one of them, then it really gives us empowering information of how to adapt and adjust.
I agree. And I cannot wait to dive further into all of that you just briefly put into that beautiful package. Before we do, would you share a story? I ask all of my guests, so that way we know we're not alone in these situations. A story of an experience with one of your first cycles, and around what age were you when your cycles first started?
My first memory of getting my period was actually when I was at Disneyland and I went to the bathroom. It's like, oh, okay, now, not the best time at Disneyland. It wasn't consistent after that, but I just remember that maybe around the age of 12, I'm really horrible with ages and dates, but somewhere around the age of 12, and definitely Disneyland. In fact, if I go back there, I know exactly what bathroom I was in. It was like, if you're familiar with Disneyland layout, it was the one transitioning from where the kid rides are in the carousel. You walk around before you get to Thunder Mountain. There's a bathroom right there. That was the bathroom.
Wow, that just brings a different meaning to the most joyful place on earth. But it's a memory, and it made that trip extremely memorable and concrete in in your thoughts, and now of anytime you go there, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I remember that bathroom." I had a very unique experience in that bathroom.
I sure did.
Not particularly that instance, or that memory, but with your cycle, did that play any role into what you're doing now with Pilates?
At first, there was just a complete disconnection, even once I got my cycle more consistently. There was not a good understanding at the time, or it was a smaller amount of people, I would say, who knew a more holistic view of the cycle. So, very heavy menstrual cycles, very irregular, very uncomfortable. And it was just on birth control. Like that was your option.
Mhm.
And so that's what I did. And it led me to really not being in tune with the cycle. I had something else to regulate that for me rather than maybe adjusting what I was eating. And let's face it, as a teenager, my sleep cycle was atrocious. I'd stay up incredibly late and just throw my day off because of that. There's a lot of different individual factors that contributed to really not focusing on that. And once I started going into the path of health education, that actually led me to Pilates as well. All the small adjustments that I made actually led to cycle regulation. And then it was in particular learning more about tuning into the wisdom of our body, our energy levels. And for me, that in was through understanding more of trauma and the stress response cycle, that it enabled me to tune in more to that. And I realized that, oh, well, at certain times during the month, well, like I'm really motivated to do challenging workouts. And other times, like, not so much. Or so now I've even like have it down to more of a science for my body where it's like the time of day when I start my menstruation cycle determines what my workout's going to be for that particular day. So I would say it's been slow over the course of time. And what's beautiful now is it doesn't have to be that slow journey because we have more information rather than picking up a piece here and there. We can tap into podcasts like this, different experts like yourself, and then it gives us more guidance in which we can follow our intuition, which I feel like overall we've just been told to ignore from a very young age.
Yep, I agree. We've been told that our cycles are taboo, not to worry about it. Oh, you have your medication's the best way to go. So yes, it I love that you notice that pattern and you've incorporated that pattern, even to the down to the day on, okay, I know this week may be a slower week, but even to the day, like this day is, I really need to take it slow. And then you go to the next day and you could do a harder workout that next day. But yes, we need to get in tune with our body. And that is beautiful. I love that you're doing that. How was Pilates kind of your call? Was that what you did before? Or did you do something else before getting into all this?
I got into Pilates during when I was at the university pursuing my degree in health education, and I had switched from floral design to health education because I had cancer, and it really was a life path change for me and brought me not only to that degree but also to Pilates. And if you would have said when I was younger, even in my teenage years, you know, your career is going to be Pilates, it would be like, no, you don't know me very well. That like I don't like to work out. That's not my jam. That's not what I do. But it was very accessible. And I had an amazing teacher who really gave a lot of different options for physical considerations. And my energy, because of the cancer treatment at the time, really had like good energy and other times really low energy. And for that, it was so beautiful and beneficial. And I just pursued teacher training. And here I am over 20 years later, still moving with Pilates and teaching it.
I love it. It's very, very interesting how the universe says, yeah, you're gonna do something, and you're like, okay, not what I anticipated at all, but you get into that space, and you're like, yeah, I feel at home. I love this. You had a background in PE and you went into Pilates and with the cancer. And how did all of that kind of just play out? Because I know that you said with movement and how to fit it into your day and how all does that work? Because we're all busy. I know of a mom of two. I'm busy. How can I incorporate this movement without it being overwhelming?
I think it goes back to what are our life's goals. And that may seem interesting when it comes to talking about workouts, but it's never been about physique. For my personal experience and for a lot of people who I work with, it's really because it gives us energy so that we feel better throughout the day. It allows us to stay really mobile, getting down, up, down to the floor, back up off the floor. And that's really the reason why. And when we detach from maybe more of the traditional goals that we think of with workouts. Like I want to get X number of push-ups in, I want to run a 5K. Those can all be wonderful, but for a lot of people, they found the ones that's done, it's like, well, what do I do now? And sometimes it can lead to overtraining of the body. And when you think about overtraining of the body, well, that's not a definition of health or wellness. Just keep pushing through workouts to where you end up injuring yourself. And I've worked with a lot of clients over the years who have had that happen to them because they were more of an athletic pursuit with working out rather than just overall, this is part of a healthy lifestyle, just like getting to sleep on time, what we fuel our bodies with, what we're eating, and we're staying hydrated. It's another component. And once we have that shift, the workouts the pressure comes off of them, I'll say. Whereas no longer does it have to be an hour-long workout where we really have to strive for this goal that maybe isn't even in alignment with what's beneficial for us. Let me give an example. For a lot of people still, and especially when I was getting into working out, like six-pack abs were like a goal, really want to get to six pack abs. Well, we have research to validate that, especially for women, that many times is unhealthy. Yes, you can attain them, but that is not healthy for our body. So your abs can really be strong. It doesn't mean that we will visibly be able to see your six pack, especially if maybe end of the day, beginning of the day, or where we are in our menstrual cycle. And I can't tell you how many times people who I know who there maybe go more for the competitive nature. For instance, I had a cousin who was a bodybuilder to enter those competitions where we think that physique is healthy. He was extremely dehydrated. He would fast many times because the muscles will then pop out and bulge more and more definition. Of course, he was training consistently, but if you saw him on that day, that was not actually a representation of how he looked the other days when he was doing his real life of training towards his pursuit. So even athletes, sometimes what we see is not actually a representation of how they actually look on a day in and day out basis. And this can be really helpful once we start detaching a little bit from it's physique based, it's about sculpting the body into how what is the energy that we want? How do we want to feel? How do we want to have a healthy and vibrant life? And with that, there's a lot of different ways in which we can move our body. Yes, from a cardiovascular endurance standpoint, strength, mobility, which is coming up on the forefront of being such a key for moving the body. And I found incredibly helpful as well during the phases where we're feeling a little bit more achy and stiff and have cramps sometimes because of our menstrual cycle. So that I have found has been really helpful, and focusing on what can you do. So not, I don't have time for a workout. Well, you got 5 minutes. Let's start there. And this was a reality check that I had when I had not my first child, it was more my second child, because my first child's like, oh, 2 naps, perfect. They're going to nap. And during one of those naps, I'm going to rest. The other nap, I'm going to work out. Well, I have my second child, and pretty soon I'm working full time. And I didn't have that luxury I had before. I had more time commitments and I was trying to do what worked well for me with one child or what I was doing when I was in college. It just wasn't working. So I think being adaptable and focusing on what time do we have. Maybe it's not even Pilates all the time with stepping on their mat. Maybe it's getting outside and taking a short walk. And I found when people can do that consistently, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is for you, where it's more often than not throughout our week embedded into your lifestyle, then it's easier to add, well, what if I just do five more minutes next week once we have that consistency?
I love it. Yeah. Finding those pockets in our day that I've heard. And another individual that I spoke to, she's like, we need to focus on being strong, not thin, but strong. Because we're not going to have six-pack abs. We can have strong core. We want that strong core, but that doesn't mean we need those six-pack abs. And definitely correct with the bodybuilders, and they purposely do that for the few weeks, and then they go back to they don't look like that outside of those few weeks leading up to that. You have the five. What are the five elements of physical conditioning for health?
I love this and getting into the nuances here because it helps us explore, well, what do we lean towards perhaps for our physical conditioning and how can we round that out? So one is cardiovascular health, which if you're over the age of 40, probably for the last few years, you've heard, don't worry about cardiovascular, just focus on strength training. It is horrible information that is purely from more of a physique-based element. We want our heart to be strong. We want to have some form of cardiovascular endurance. For some people, that could be an hour-long cycling class. For other people, it's walking a little bit faster for 20 minutes. It's what makes sense for you. Then we have strength training, which is incredibly important. And that doesn't always mean you have to go to the weight and or go to the gym and lift weights. That can be at home with body weight exercises or adding, yes, free weights or even resistance bands. Then we have mobility. And this piece is on the rise as far as a recognition of needing to stay supple and mobile in our joints, and where Pilates really shines, because I would say 99% of the time when I see these mobility exercises, whether it's something specific or for the back or for the shoulder, I just think, well, if you would have come to a Pilates class and done Pilates in a really intentional way and slow down your practice, you would have your mobility work. And then you also get good overall strength, you get flexibility in there. And that leads us to another element, which is flexibility. So this is our stretching, which sometimes is a side note. Maybe you do it after cardio, but there's also times when you may want to focus a little bit more on stretching because it can help recover from cardiovascular work. Strengthening workouts can definitely help with mobility. And then balance is that last element. So often when people say, my balance isn't just what it used to be, or, I'm feeling more stiff and it's related to age. What we actually know now, it's not so much that age is the determining factor of whether we can or can't do something. It's that over the course of years, and sometimes it's very subtle, we eliminate movement from our life. We are training kids at a young age to sit still on your desk. I mean, recess has been shortened over time, and teachers are wondering why it's harder for kids to concentrate. Well, if they can't expel that energy, then it's going to be hard to focus and concentrate. Then we get into college, and it goes on where we become more and more sedentary. And what we need to do with a more sedentary life where things are more automatic, even like washing our clothes. Think about how people used to wash their clothes. It was very vigorous, like on that board, washing and hanging them. Well, I just pop it into my washing machine and dryer, and that's a little bit of activity, but it's a minute compared to hours doing laundry. That we do need to focus on time to do these different elements of physical conditioning that way back in the day were automatically included. Now we get to be intentional. And the good thing is that you get to focus on what really makes sense for you and what you enjoy, because you can do Pilates for mobility and strength, flexibility and balance, or you can do something else for that. You can do running for cardio, or maybe you're going to do rowing instead. There's a lot of options, which is so amazing because then we can really find what is our special fit and what motivates us to move.
And I've taken some Pilates classes, and some of the stuff that we do with how quickly we sometimes move, or even the movements that we're doing, I'm getting winded. It's almost a cardio. It's a low impact cardio for me because I was just like, so I was like, all right, Heather, you are completely out of shape. But on the flip side, it's I know I'm getting the strength training. I know I'm getting that flexibility. I know I'm working on my balance, and I know I'm building. I mean, I was like, oh, Pilates, it can't be that hard. It was. I used to strength train. It's probably one of the harder exercises, and I'm not saying that to scare anybody. It's simple movements, sometimes a lot of them, and you don't realize that that little circling of the leg after a little bit, that's gonna burn, and you're building muscle, and it feels really good walking out of that space and at the end going, "Wow, I did a workout. I'm sweating. I feel really good." Now with those 5 elements and with the cycle, and how do you incorporate or adjust those workouts with the cycle and just your life? You had mentioned a
I
little bit about
start,
that before.
yeah. So I like to start first with when just during the week, let's for a moment put the cycle to the side. During the week, when do you have high energy? When do you have lower energy? Is it Monday you have higher energy because you had the weekend to rest, and Wednesday maybe you have a little lower energy? Well, we compare then the more challenging workouts with the naturally higher energy days and the more active recovery. So this would be slower sessions focusing on mobility or stretch, or maybe an easy walk rather than something more vigorous for cardio. And we're doing those on the alternate days. There's always the option as well to be like, I'm taking the day off. I'm doing passive recovery, which is I'm doing nothing. And there's a time for active recovery where you're doing something, and the passive recovery. The first key is kind of figure that out for your week. And then as you go through your month and also months, notice how that may change depending upon your cycle. So one day you're like, oh, I kind of have low energy, and oh, my back is a little stiff because, oh, that's why, because I'm about to start my cycle tomorrow or in the next few days. Well, I'm going to need to shift and do something a little bit different rather than right away doing something vigorous. Maybe I want to just ease into that with more of an extended warm up routine, see how my body is feeling. Do I want to keep going, or is that enough for the day? Because when we zoom out of just the week or even the day, I think this can be really powerful, is that in order for workouts to be beneficial, it is not just one workout or 1 week or 1 month. It's how we are consistent over time, but that doesn't mean you have to keep doing the same thing every single week. Having flexibility with your workout program is really the key to unlock more of a sustainable program that you're motivated to move with. And people have found when they start understanding what is their rhythm for their typical week, how does their cycle play a part in this, that when they can make adjustments, they know then what to try. And here's the thing, if we try something different and it works, well, next time your back is aching and you're feeling a little bit not great because of your cycle, well, you can try that a similar type of class. And maybe you tried a class and you're like, that didn't make a difference. Well, now you know what not to focus on, and you'll try something different next time. So even the workouts that maybe you're like, I didn't really like that, or that wasn't beneficial, it gives us good information of, okay, we're going to put that to the side. Maybe we'll come back to it later, maybe not. But now we're going to try something different. And the more we just go with this sense of experimentation, the more kind of freedom we have rather than just getting it right for every workout.
Yeah, and with that, I you have those workouts and just being able to flow and move and change. But we also hear that, oh, if you work out too much, it increases the cortisol levels and it hurts the nervous system, and it can impair your health a little bit more, or it can hurt the cycle. how does Pilates like really like not, I don't want to say suppress because it's not suppress, but shift that focus and you can be able to say, yes, too much of something can increase the nervous system response in a negative way. Yeah, what does Pilates do? Because I know it doesn't necessarily do that in the way that higher intensity exercises can.
I love that you bring that up. And I wanted to address that there's a misconception that we should 100% avoid more challenging workouts, whether Pilates or otherwise, because of the cortisol, because of our nervous system. Our nervous system is meant to have a big, wide range of fluctuation. And yes, if we only focus on those very challenging workouts, it's going to either exhaust our nervous system and we'll feel burnt out, or can lead to injury, overuse injury. So there is that very real consideration. But opposite of that, we can work with very soothing classes. So what I like to think about is workouts are on a spectrum. Especially with Pilates, I find it's really easy to have different classes that fit this wide range spectrum, from very soothing and nourishing, more down regulating workouts, and other workouts that are going to be more energizing. Energizing, we can swap out, for those of you who know the sympathetic nervous system response, that's the sympathetic nervous system response. It's going to respond sometimes for a stress response cycle. It's the classic fight or flight with emergency, excitement, even when we're really excited about something, the sympathetic nervous system activates, and those more vigorous workouts. So I think for, let's say, the past 2 years, I've really been hearing just about the sympathetic nervous system. It's overactivated. It's a bad thing. That no, it can be really beneficial, can be motivating for us. If it's too much and it tips that scale, yeah, then all of a sudden it feels like this is too much. And this is where understanding how you individually like to engage and move and how your life is swirling around workouts. Because we're going to take one small piece of this. And when you may want to shift can be very helpful. So say that perhaps you enjoy more challenging, faster paced Pilates classes that get that heart rate up. And you mentioned like, whoa, that was challenge doing those circles. And side note, we do love circles and Pilates. But when may it make sense to shift gears into something that's going to be slower paced and where we can not have that same amount of physical exertion. We'll be working a different element of physical conditioning, and we'll be tapping into a different element of our nervous system as well. And so I like to just think about, where is our line? And this line is in the sand. And when the waves are crushing heavy, it's going to shift the line in the sand where maybe it does not make sense for us to then layer on a really challenging workout. But if it's more of a soothing, where we're not stressed out and it's the gentle waves, maybe we feel like we have more energy to energize our workouts and do something challenging. So I think one of the challenges is that if people want, just tell me exactly what to do, because for so long, that has been the medical system, that has been in workouts, just follow this exact workout plan and you're good to go. What happens is it may work for a short amount of time, and then something needs to change. And for a long time, because of this, just follow the plan and you'll be fine approach, we feel like something's wrong with me, rather than, oh, we just need to adjust the plan. Even when I was going through cancer, we started with the plan, and guess what? I had a medical reaction to many of my medications. We didn't keep going with it. And I didn't say, oh my gosh, why am I having this medical reaction? We're going to adjust the plan and do different medication management. And this is something that I've seen advances, I feel like, in the medical field as well, where we may start with some suggestions, but we innately have to personalize it for each individual. And with workouts, if we take that more individual approach, what is the overall well-rounded workout plan? When does it make sense to make that adjustment? And it could be based upon the nervous system.
I love that. To be able to work with you, you're more online and at home, correct? With your
Yes.
with your programs, is there a way for somebody to start on a pro with one of your programs and they realize, "Oh, you know what? This isn't I need to shift." Is that how do they find out where then what path to go? Do they go just to a different lesson, or is there somebody that they can reach out to when they work with you? How do you work with that?
It really depends if people move with my classes on YouTube or within the membership and app. So on YouTube, there's less connection that I have with people who are moving with me there. It's a great place to get started if you just want to try a class or two. But really within the membership and app, there's a lot more options. We go through personalization. I teach workshops on this. We have monthly sessions where we work together in real time, where people ask questions. And for most people, actually, in the membership and app, when they have questions, they submit them via a form because they can't attend in real time. There's a reason why they are accessing Pilates through this online platform. Because either Pilates isn't accessible where they are, or maybe they're working full time or are a parent. And it just makes sense to fit in Pilates at home. And they've realized that sometimes the hour-long workouts that are traditional to gyms, Pilates studios, yoga studios just don't make sense all the time in order to be consistent. And so that's where the membership and app come in. There are different workout calendars and programs to follow depending upon if you're brand new to Pilates. Maybe you could start with the foundations program. If maybe you're have been moving with Pilates a little bit longer, well, there's another program or calendar for you. And what I found is that about half the people follow a program or calendar within the app, and the other half are either right away started doing their own thing or they transitioned to that. They started seeing a rhythm with the calendar and started noticing, well, on Mondays, Beth usually has a longer length workout, but I don't have a lot of time on Mondays, so I'm going to flip flop that day. And they've started creating and scheduling their own classes in the app, which is an amazing function. So I always suggest on Sundays or whatever day works well for you, think about your week ahead. And maybe it's consistent where Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have a little bit longer to work out. So you're going to have a longer workout. So that's what you schedule. But one week you realize, oh, this Thursday, I have to attend my kids after school activity for a little bit longer. So I need to shorten that workout or not do anything at all, that we can make adjustments in that way. And for some people, they do want to meet with me one-on-one. So there's the opportunity to schedule private sessions as well. But I encourage people many times to just think about going through with the sense of experimentation and what is working, because more often than not, they will know more what's beneficial for them than I will. So when I meet with someone, I'll ask, what do you have time for? What variations are you currently doing? What do you want to focus on? And yes, we can custom tailor a class in that way, but it's never me just doing the work for them. It's really, I'm getting their input about what they are really wanting from the experience.
And they get when you get their input, then they get they're empowered then to continue. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Where can people find you? And actually before that, you have a 7-day Pilates series. What can you explain that a little bit more for us?
Yeah. So the 7-day Pilates series features 30-minute workouts. I'm going to give you an option if 30 minutes is not going to work for you during these 7 days. And it features 30-minute workouts that you can do 5 of them over the 7 days. So intentionally, we are not doing the typical challenge of you're going to do a hard workout every single day for 7 days, because we want that rest and recovery. In addition, what I do for any Pilates series that I teach is, do these 5 days in a row work for you? Maybe it's Monday through Friday, and that works really well. You're going to do 30 minutes on as part of your lunch hour break. Or perhaps that doesn't work. So maybe you double up on one of the days and then you have another off day. So this is a concept that when my kids were very young, and it was you have to eat their vegetables. Fruit wasn't that big of a problem, but the vegetables. And I read an article that said, why don't you just zoom out a little bit and rather than just think about that one meal or the one day, the overall throughout the week, are they getting vegetables? And some days they eat more vegetables and other days they eat less. And over the years, it's just transferred my idea into, well, how is our week overall with movement? Some days we do a little bit more, other days we do a little bit less. And one thing about this Pilates series that we're talking about, which is evolution, is that we're using pieces of equipment that people already have at their home: a wall, a chair, a blanket. And in doing this, we're noticing how adding different pieces of equipment you literally have at your home can make a big difference in variety with workouts. And we can get sometimes more strengthening work, sometimes more stretching work. And it is a beautiful way in which we think, okay, have a Pilates mat. That's all I have. Amazing. Let's focus on what other pieces you already have in your home. So that's a great place for people to start. But if you're thinking, I don't even have 30 minutes right now, there is a new series available as well. A portion of this is available on YouTube, and the full program is available within the membership and app, featuring 5-minute workouts. And sometimes people are like, does 5 minutes really count? Well, if you're just getting started, yes. If you're short on time, yes. And what's also nice about these 5-minute workouts is someone in the membership said it's so great because it's kind of like I can build my own workout. If I want to focus just on lower body, I combine little 5-minute lower body sections together. Now it's a 20-minute workout. Or if I just want to focus on abs and back, well, that's a 10-minute workout. So it's really been beautiful to see how people have been creating their own workouts using these 5-minute classes to really personalize what their goals are and what they feel is going to benefit them as well. So either that 5-minute series on YouTube, if that sounds like, yes, I want to get started and stay committed, and 5 minutes is what I can do at this point, or something a little bit longer in length, the 30-minute workout series for evolution.
I love it. Where can people find you? I know you mentioned YouTube. Where else can they find you to get to know you better, or to even find out more about your membership and app or the YouTube channel?
The best place really is on the website, trifectapilates.com, because it lists not only information for YouTube, but also more details about the membership and app, and the professional development courses that I offer as well. And of course, for kind of a more casual connection, I'm on Instagram. We're in summertime right now, and so I tend to be more inconsistent there because getting away from social media a little bit, connecting more with camping and my family. So you can connect with me there or find out more details on trifectapilates.com.
I love it. Before we head out, do you have any wise words of wisdom to take with us?
I think it's really listening and tuning in to the wisdom of your body. And sometimes what we cognitively think our body is saying is, we're not motivated. Don't do that. But I found for a lot of people, it's not that you're not motivated, it's just, I don't want to do that type of workout today. And we haven't really been given the tools, understanding your language of how to interpret those signals. So can we shift gears into something else? And if you just ask yourself, well, what do you feel like doing? And maybe it's just resting. Or maybe it's, I feel like going out and walking, or really feel like doing a stretching session. So let's not focus so much on what we can't do or don't want to do. Instead, focus on what do you want to do, what lights you up, and what can you do. And I can guarantee you that over the long run, the more you start listening to this, the more your body will appreciate that, and it will stick with you then for challenging workouts when they're appropriate. And they'll stick with you when you just want to rest and you don't feel like you have to do it all the time.
I love it. Listen to your body is so important and such an amazing thing to be reminded of. So thank you so much, Beth, for taking us on this enlightening journey into Pilates in your life and how we can improve it. I really appreciate your time here today.
Oh, and thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to speak with you.
All of the links that Beth mentioned can be found in the show notes. Thank you, listeners, for spending your time with us today. If you found a nugget of wisdom or a moment of empowerment, my mission is accomplished. Do you know someone that could benefit from this information? Please share Embracing Flow with them. Until next time, my friends, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividous. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Embracing Flow. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show, submit a rating and review, and share it with your friends. Visit my website to receive your free PDF on 4 ways to decrease PMS. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividous. Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.